Alright, our second video is about finding the X and Y intercepts and then being able to use them to aid us in graphing. So that is the objective of this particular video. Okay, so remember that finding X and Y intercepts is actually very easy. You just have to remember that whenever the graph touches an axis, either the X or the Y must equal 0. Okay? If it crosses, now let's take a look at this. Alright, so say the line crosses right there. We got 2 points where it crosses. Okay? What is the value of y in those two spots? It's 0. Okay? And if it happens to cross the y-axis way up there, well then the value of x right there is going to be 0. So all that means is to find the x-intercept, you set y equal to 0, and then you solve for whatever x is. And conversely, if you want to find the y-intercept, you set x equal to 0 and solve for y. So the process is actually quite simple. So let's say we have the graph of x to the third minus 4x. Let's start by finding the y-intercept, which is plugging zeros in for x. And when you do that, 0 cubed is 0, 4 times 0 is 0, so you end up with y equals 0. So when x equals 0, y equals 0. So that problem actually goes through the origin. So finding the y-intercept is usually the easiest thing to do because you just slap a 0 in for x and see what's left. To find the x-intercept, well, it looks like we're going to have to factor. And that's pretty much what all of you guys look like anytime the word factoring is mentioned. Don't worry, it's easy. What goes into x to the third and 4x? An x, so I pull an x out first. And of course you should recognize that x squared minus 4 factors out to x plus 2 and x minus 2. So there's actually 3 x-intercepts. 0, 0, 0 negative 2, 0, and positive 2, 0. And there are your intercepts. Okay, note that finding the intercepts is really the easiest way to find a few points on the graph. If you remember the last video, it was on point plotting. Okay, finding the intercepts is a way of point plotting, and it's a legitimate tactic. In other words, I'm not going to frown upon finding the intercepts. We almost always do that when we're trying to graph an equation. Also, the vast majority of graphs have intercepts, but by no means do they all. In other words, in the last section we had a parabola and it never actually went through the x-axis. Okay, so sometimes there are no zeros for x. But anyways, that's all there is to finding your x and y intercepts. So that's it.